My chocolate river. It's completely dried up. That rotund boy has done it again. He's come full circle and now he's plugged up the chocolate waterfall. This is not acceptable.
Willy Wonka, or its actual name, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is a game based on Roald Dahl's book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. However, this game is more accurately based on the movie by Tim Burton. And what I mean by that is that the characters look like the movie characters, they sound like the movie characters, for better or for worse.
Yippee!
However, the levels are nothing like the movie at all. See, when I was a young lad, I loved movies and I loved video games, and I still do for both. But this meant that I've played a lot of movie tie-in games, which also means that I've played a lot of shit.
Great high-quality games that are 100% accurate to their movies.
And this game is really, really weird and creepy, and a lot of things that I'm about to talk about. This game is also pretty short. It's only about 4 hours long if you know what to do. I also had never beaten it as a kid, and that sentence right there should tell you everything that you need to know. Thus, we are going to be critiquing and looking back at the Willy Wonka game. And to do this, we are going to go through the entire game piece by piece, giving you a full experience of what playing this game is like, so you don't have to ever play it. And most importantly, due to me one time in history saying the movie was better than the book, a demon rose up and told me that I had to find the best movie tie-in game or my sword be taken. So, will Charlie and the Chocolate Factory be the best movie tie-in game of all time? Probably not, but we will see. With all that said, if you have played this game before, get ready for a scrum-diddly-yumptious bite of nostalgia chocolate. And if you have never played this game before, get ready to see gameplay that is beyond your wildest dreams and imaginations. As we enter the wacky, weird, and downright creepy world of Willy Wonka the game. That is actually called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Enjoy. We start this tale with a horrific looking cutscene and Grandpa Joe and Charlie walking down the street, and they're wishing to go to the chocolate factory. We then get a small recap of the story with audio ripped straight from the 2005 movie, except strangely, one of the lines is given to Grandpa Joe when it was said by another character.
But I haven't any money for chocolate.
Nothing's impossible, Charlie. Nothing.
And speaking of Grandpa Joe, he is pure nightmare fuel here. With his massive nose and his massive mouth, every character here is really just horrific looking. They decided to give them all this really weird and uncanny art style. Not even trying to be realistic in any way. I do kind of appreciate the attempt at trying something different, but it's just horrible to look at. We also get some newspaper articles of the children. And everyone in this game but Wonka is voiced by the same actors from the movie. Though to be fair, the Wonka impression is actually really good. You really wouldn't be able to tell if you didn't know. Oh yeah, and they censored Mike TV's rant a little bit.
Found by an ill-mannered genius named Mike TV.
I calculated just where to look. An idiot can do it. Derivative of the Nikkei index. A retard. Die! Die! Die!
But going back to Charlie, a miracle happens and $10 lands on his feet before blowing away. And of course he runs to chase it, though let's just say his long limbs look like the janitor from Little Nightmares. And then this game actually begins, with us in a small Victorian looking town, and atmosphere wise, it's actually really nice. It reminds me of Fable a bit. We can also pick up snowballs for some reason and throw them with some insane power. One thing to mention though is how it's the middle of the night in winter and Charlie is just out here alone. Seems a bit dangerous, no? What reason did he even have to be out here? Did it just turn to night instantly? We look to our right and we see Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and it certainly has a dark and imposing look as it's pushing smoke into the dark grey sky. And to make the setting even more creepy, a church bell plays randomly as if it's Dracula's damn castle we're looking at. But we get back to our objective, which is chasing down this $10 bill. And we walk over to it, and all we have to do is
Simply reach out. Take it.
But Charlie is so stupid that he can't grab the note in front of him. To be fair though, this $10 bill must be magical or something since it legit stops and waits for you before zooming away. We get led to an alley not unlike the one where Batman's parents were killed, so we don't really want to stay here too long. We come across some Wonka trucks, all abandoned with the crates of the Wonka bars laid out on the street. The setting's more like a post-apocalyptic ghost town than a living city. The purpose of these vans is basically invisible walls. We make Charlie pick up one of the boxes, and dear God, if that box falls on him, his limbs will literally break in two. And this brings us to the first puzzle in the game, which is obviously to pick up the box and place it down to jump up higher, and then finally get the dollar note. And then doing all that, the dollar note is stuck on the fence. So obviously, we just simply reach out and take it. But Charlie Bucket has a better idea. Not to use his long limbs, but to ram into the fence with his body. Somehow out of all scenarios, this doesn't seem to work, and the bill gains higher ground, and we keep chasing the bill until he stops and opens his mouth in complete shock, attempting to suck the bill towards him in his vortex mouth. Somehow this also doesn't work, so he actually attempts to use his arms this time, and then reacts to missing grabbing it before he actually attempts to grab it.
Almost got it. Oh no!
And then he gets the bill anyway. Unfortunately though for poor Bucket, he falls off the roof breaking his neck and all his thin, long limbs and dies on the street. And that's the end of the game. We roll to the credits and remember the important message: don't climb high buildings on a winter night. I don't know, I guess the chocolate factory was a symbolism for death or something. Or that's what should have happened. Unfortunately, Charlie survives and starts skidding down on a trash can lid. The game wants the player to now dodge all the garbage cans and Wonka vans. But we do the opposite and try to hit all of them. You know, to test if there's a game over. Not to see if Charlie gets hurt or anything, that would be weird.
Die! Die! Die!
So we proceed to do just that. The vans don't actually hurt Charlie at all, and the trash cans don't seem to slow your momentum. Though can we just say, what a shot from this snowball to go around and hit that trash can like that. That's actually the most fun thing about this section, that golden shot right there. After a few more concussions for Charlie, we finally grab the money and head into the shop in the middle of the night, I guess. I don't know, it's a 24-hour shop. And we are greeted to, oh god, yeah, that Charlie Bucket possessed by a demon. I mean, who approved this art? Like, seriously. He doesn't even look human. He's just soulless, black eyes, and an evil grin. It's nothing like his in-game model either. And what does it even mean, the black soulless eyes? I guess if you're poor, you don't get to have pupils? His teeth are also too small for his mouth. He just has empty space to the side. So moving on from Nightmare Charlie, he finds the golden ticket, and we get to see the rest of the children. And further see them in all our nightmares. Who decided on these designs? Violet looks like she's from an insane asylum. And Veruca Salt looks like she's had a lobotomy, then been killed, and then been taxidermied. The only normal looking one is Mike TV, but that just begs the question, why is he normal? And the others that are so grossly exaggerated. And then Grandpa Joe is now straight up cosplaying the janitor from Little Nightmares, and Charlie looks like a little demon ready to suck up their souls. And then there's Willy Wonka. Oh dear god, he looks straight up like a serial killer. And with those introductions done, we get to the first room in the factory, the chocolate room with Augustus Gloop already stuck in the pipe.
My Oompa Loompas will help you remove that greedy boy from my chocolate. Quickly now.
So Wonka treats us like an Oompa Loompa and makes it our job to save Gloop. We also get introduced to the actual Oompa Loompas who run across the screen at fast speeds like a horror villain. Even the sound effects treat this like a slasher flick. Now, remember how fast the Oompa Loompas are running here because it will be very, very vital later. Then we get our first objective, which is to find the Oompa Loompas. And we can walk around the room for a bit before being interrupted by Grandpa Joe, who, speaking of, where is he right now? Is he just watching behind a glass window or something? But he approves of Willy using Charlie for child labor and acts as our helpful hint guide whenever we are stuck or confused. Since he's, you know, worked here, even though I don't think he worked in this one, he worked in a smaller, crappier one.
Still remember a few things about this place.
One thing this game does really well, though, is actually the soundtrack. Kinda slaps, I'm not gonna lie. It's catchy, mysterious, and weird, but in a good way. With some magic-sounding instruments, but also a sense of dread. It fits this strange game quite perfectly. We find the Oompa Loompa and get introduced to the main gameplay loop of the game, Crappy Pikmin. We use the D-pad to make Oompa Loompas follow us and work for us, and they can also pick up candy to use and do various different tasks for us. Before we do some of the work with the Loompas, we have to mention the design of the chocolate room. It does look just like the 2005 movie, though with obviously less detail. Even has all the movie candy, trees and plants and everything. After exploring around a bit, we discover a sort of hidden area of buttons. We tell the Oompa Loompas to jump on them, and doing so, they play a magical little tune, and we force Gloop up into the pipe.
Marvelous. My chocolate shouldn't taste as gloopy now, but you look exhausted. Try some Wonkavite. It's full of energy to keep you on your toes. You'll often find it in trees, so you'll need these.
Charlie is then given unlimited gobstoppers that we can throw. This will actually be our main weapon in the game. And you're probably wondering, why do you need a weapon in this game? Well, all in due time. Throwing the gobstoppers at the trees, we do find some Wonkavite, the health packs for this game. But for added fun, they run away from you. They're very hard to catch. After this first one that I caught pretty good. We can send the Oompa Loompas to catch them for us though, and they'll just run and pretty much pick them up. They do take a bit though, because you know, Wonkavite runs away. It's annoying. The next candy we get is Lolly Dollies. That's a name. These recharge candy powers, which is the equivalent of mana for Charlie. We then attempt to get more Wonkavite and it bounces around and falls into the river. Well, that sucks. And thus, we head into the Jelly Beanstalk room, an original room not found in the movie at all, which was a great choice for the game, including rooms that you have never seen before. In the next room, we find a new Oompa Loompa type, the Harvester, most likely harvesting organs. In this case, we use them for jelly beans. Charlie asks Grandpa Joe for advice, who sounds a little too enthusiastic.
That's it, Charlie. That's it, Charlie. That's it, Charlie. That's it, Charlie.
Wonka appears and gives us a new power in our candy selection, the Jelly Beanstalk candy. And this may be one of the worst designed things in any game, period. And you're about to see why. The Jelly Beanstalk can only be used on the ground, and it places vines. But before that, we activate the vents for the chocolate pipe, which just so happens to be over razor-sharp deadly vines, because of course they are. So we need to plug the vents with the vines clearly, but how do we do that? Well, with Wonka bots, a completely original thing not in any of the Wonka movies or books. We have to catch the Wonka bots in the vines, though this can only be done if it walks over it and then turns into a vine ball. And then obviously you just push the vine ball into the vents, right? Well, not exactly. See, Charlie doesn't have enough strength to push the vine ball with his tiny twig arms. And it just goes up and comes back down. And the vines mean we can't walk over it, so we use the gobstopper to hit the vine ball. Well, yes, that's the idea. And the first time it works for me. But there's 3 vents. So the next time I learn a little fun thing. If you're too close to the vine ball when throwing, there's actually no momentum at all. And to add on to that, another fun, tiny little thing is the direction that the vine ball is going when you throw the gobstopper is utterly completely random. It can go left, right, up, down, sideways, always, but most of the time, no ways. So all I can say is have fun at this part, because it's to the gods if the vine ball is ever going in. Though this time I was lucky, and it was only 15 minutes of doing this that I got the vine ball to finally go in. Thus, doing so, the beanstalk has slightly sprouted, letting the player jump on the leaves along the way. Along the way, there's also candy to collect, a set amount on each level and Wonka bars, and I started doing this for a bit until I realized, why am I doing this? I don't really care. And then we get to another vent situation, but this time it's an even more awkward to reach place. So I took my time to line up the vine ball and we get greeted to another fun surprise. The Wonka bots are actually on a timer to escape. And when they escape, they blow up and one shot kill Charlie. And a very dramatic death sound plays. Now, what happens when you die in this game?
Nothing! You lose!
Okay, no, nothing actually happens. It's not even checkpoints, it just sends you back a bit, but everything you've done before the death is still continuing on. It does play that dramatic sound every single time. So not only do we have to randomly hit the perfect angle for the vine ball with a random momentum, if the thing is actually ever going to move, while also awkwardly catching the Wonka bot with a vine ball candy, We also are on a timer before it explodes and kills us and jump scares us with a very loud death sound. This section took me another 20 minutes till I got it. It's not the greatest first impression. Nostalgia was very much holding this one up for me. But continuing on, it's another vent. Great. And this one took me legit half an hour because no matter what I tried, that viney ball would not go to the vent. It would just get stuck and explode. And then we get to the worst of all the viney ball vents, as this particular one required you to play it like pinball and just pray that that stupid viney ball would go down the right path. There is nothing you can do to determine where it's going to fall, or even the thing will actually be able to make it. Half the time it gets stuck in the level or explodes. But after a long time, I got lucky and it went in the vent. And Charlie, who has been stuck here for hours at this point, gives the most appropriate reaction ever. Wonka, of course, had been watching us suffer as he's completely useless and gets Charlie to do all the work. Which makes you wonder how this factory was even running before Charlie was here. No wonder he wants to give this away. And that's the Beanstalk Room, one of the worst designed levels in gaming history. After clearing the room, we are greeted to a new cutscene and a new plot point that actually is a pretty good idea. It wouldn't be out of place in the movie, and it might even proved it, honestly. And that is Mike's TV's plan to upgrade the Wonka bots. So he hacks them with the intention of making them more useful. Unfortunately for us though, he fails and instead turns them into quirkier versions of themselves. It's also here that we realize there's a big change from the adaptation, and that is not only the robots, but the fact it's only the kids and Wonka, no parents or guardians at all, which kind of makes it more messed up what happens to them. But now the Wonka bots are attacking and killing Oompa Loompas and will be the main enemy in this children's game. Somehow Gloop hasn't actually been saved yet and is still stuck suffocating in the pipes, and he starts ruining another room. And with the new room comes a new Oompa Loompa, the Welder, with blowtorches, or as Wonka says...
Look very scary, don't they? What with the masks and those little flamethrowers?
Willy Wonka gives us a full information dump of completely useless and complicated names and machines, which in fact do not matter at all because they all do the same thing. Which is, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You just see the Oompa Loompas. Oh, Pikmin. To power them. That's the gameplay loop of the whole game. So get used to it. However, we also find a fun little thing called the Candy Pole. A chair that will launch us across the rooms. Sounds fun, right? So Charlie gets on one and we get launched across the room at max velocity, and when one doesn't work, it sends a shockwave that breaks every bone in his tiny, frail body. We find more Oompa Loompas and order them to work, eventually pushing Augustus Fudge up the pipe more and unlocking the next part of the room, which is just filled with candy pole. I'll probably never say that word again in my life after this video. Now the candy poles are kind of fun when you know they actually work, since again, you have lovely random chance of actually landing in the chair you get thrown to. Otherwise, you just fall or get slammed into a wall at full speed. After being confused for a while, I found out you can actually move around the candy pots with red circles around them. Obviously sending the glowing candy to the destination, with that destination being the big blue hole. However, once we do, we get an awesome piece of music that's an absolute banger. Though before we get to listen to it, we get a new power, the most useless one ever. Wiggle Sweets, used to distract enemies. These monstrous little facehugger looking things can't be thrown far, and all they do is distract the enemies for a bit. You may notice though that the gobstoppers just straight up kill the robots quicker and easier. So what's the point of the Baldur's Gate 3 tadpole candy? Well, so what the game wants us to do here is to distract the robots into the garbage pits, and the first thing I tried was to kill the Oompa Loompas, but it didn't work. The Wonka bots do grab them though and run away with them. Another thing though is the Wonka bots were not interested in the slightest in this candy. They were far more interested in kidnapping Oompa Loompas. And that creepy candy also slowly slimes its way back to you. No kid is gonna want to eat this sweet. Wonka's a Dumbo. After using the vine ball and pushing it slowly on top of the garbage, I managed to get one robot killed. And also Charlie. Deciding to ask Grandpa Joe for help, he gave some amazing advice.
I don't know how to deactivate.
So instead of the new candy, I eventually just threw gobstoppers at them till they all exploded. And what do you know, it worked. Meaning that new candy was completely useless. And then that room is done. A very boring looking room actually, now I think about it. We return back to the chocolate room where Gloopy has drained all the chocolate here. I guess we go with it. And we get another mission this time. We have to collect candy and put it in boxes. But only the Oompa Loompas can do this. So we find them and tell them to collect and store the candy in the boxes. Then we watch as they pick it up and drop it in, not unlike another video game. But doing this task, Wonka gives us a new candy, and this time it's not a selectable one. It's something that replaces our jump with a candy balloon. And this power is fun, but it's not as fun as it might look. See, while it certainly gives you height, it doesn't really give you much forward momentum. When you actually think about it, you can run faster than jumping on it. But it's a good idea, it's just not executed that well. With the candy balloon, we escape this room and enter a very dark and scary sounding room. And I know I say this a lot, but are we sure this isn't a horror game? Just listen to the background track here.
This way?
Not exactly giving me the feeling of pure imagination. And for the gameplay, oh boy, this may look like I suck at the game, and well, we're not exactly going to comment on that, but the depth perception here is so off that you have to be literally on the edge to be able to get to the next spatula thing. I think that's what I'm landing on, I do not know. So after some more failed attempts, we get to the top and find a new machine. But this time, we actually use it. In a cutscene to send the flamethrower Oompa Loompa up to fix something, which races back Chocolate Waterfall, and Augustus finally out of the pipe. Interestingly, in this game, you actually see the kids getting saved.
Yes, he's out of the pipes. No, he's back in the river.
And then Grandpa Joe pops back up and says this.
Well, Charlie, I think we're done here.
We, Grandpa Joe, we, here, you have done nothing, you lazy old piece of... And with that room done and Augustus saved, we take the candy boat, though we don't get to see it, to the inventing room. But I do have to say it was creative to, you know, have behind-the-scenes machinery of the Chocolate Waterfall. For all the faults the game has, it's very creative with some of his decisions. Well, Willy Wonka sure is ready to add another victim to his list. And this time it's Gum Chewing Girl. So this time we got to roll Violet to the juicing room. But before that, here's one of my favorite movie clips.
Violet, you're turning violet!
It's just peak, I don't know what else you can say. And here we are in the inventing room. And okay, the music is strangely epic. Damn, that's catchy. Sounds like an epic final fight or something. Like, I don't know, why is this so good? And we also have Star Wars probe droids. What the f... And this is the start of a long, long battle with the robot. And our first thought is, let's try rolling Violet. But doing so just sort of hurts her. And the probe robot hurts like hell. These things two-shot you. It also seems the gobstoppers aren't quick enough to stop them. And the gobstoppers also don't push Violet at all. And trust me, I tried. The new gimmick of this room is to find spinners. We throw a gobstopper and it makes a platform for us and any Oompa Loompas. Problem is, the targeting is so hard to actually get onto the spinner that most of the time you fall off. Thankfully, I found out pretty early on that just by jumping with the candy balloon means you can't get hit ever. Turns out you have to kill the robots, and after that, the Oompa Loompas have appeared, so we make them work. And once this is done, we get a new candy. And it's the strongest power-up in any video game ever. I'm not even kidding. The rock candy is the best part of the game, and also one of the biggest problems with the game. See, when Charlie eats this, he turns into a super monkey ball and zooms around the map. You can also charge it up and go at supersonic speed. While in this ball, Charlie is also invincible and will hurt enemies with his speed. Now, the problem with it is it's too fun and OP, and it's the best candy in the game. So every single other candy is completely useless, and we're only on the second level, so you can see the problem here. With the rock candy, we push Blueberry down the pipe, going at maximum speed, and enter another room. This time, though, we can zoom into the probe Wonka droid and one-shot them. The one negative thing about the rock candy, though, is that it does drain your candy mana fast. However, there is normally an infinite supply of candy mana around, so you're never going to be in that much danger. We find the Oompa Loompas doing push-ups, whoever floats their boat, I guess. And for this room, we force the poor Oompa Loompas to eat the blueberry gum, permanently changing them forever for our selfish needs. Then once they are blueberries, we make them spin on a machine for eternity. We do some more fixing of machines with Oompa Loompas, then send Violet down the pipe tunnel to another very similar looking room. It's by now you've probably worked out the pattern of this game. Each level introduces an interesting or new gimmick, and then instead of changing or adapting that gimmick, The game just makes you repeat the same rooms many, many times. It's not even that the ideas of the game are bad, it's just anything interesting stops becoming interesting when you repeat it over and over again, in very similar looking areas as well. So after fixing all the machines, we have infinitely spawning droids and a blueberry girl we need to push. So we attempt to push Violet down the hole, eventually managing to, and that Wonka weirdo shows up, not helping at all, even though it's his goddamn factory. And in the juicing room, we send some blueberry Oompa Loompas to space. Well, that's the sequel. So we de-juice the Oompa Loompas that are still permanently blue, and then turn the juicer on, and the blueberry juice is probably mixed with their bloods and guts. Like, how do we determine what bits are juice and what bits aren't? And that sentence sounds really weird. But the droids spawn, and my rock candy ball runs out, and I proceed to get stun locked by these things, hitting me 3 times in a row to kill me. With Charlie's straight up death groan. Once beating them all, the floor opens up and Violet falls down, so we jump down and we land, and the impact of the fall stuns us and the droids were waiting for us and proceed to, yeah, you know what's coming. No. This is some Dark Souls level of pool. So cue epic fight to the death, Charlie and Candy Ball vs Killer Robot. After that long epic battle, we push Violet into the juicing machine, and Wonka says hands down the creepiest line in the game.
Amazing that such a little girl could hold so much juice.
I don't like where this is going.
Again, where are the kids' parents, and why was it only Charlie's grandpa who could attend with him? We need some serious help here.
That's it, Charlie.
2 victims down and 2 more to go, and it's Squirrel Girl now, and not the Marvel one. This one, who looks like a Joker laughing gas victim. And we get introduced to the adorable squirrels who look nothing like squirrels. And Veruca ruins everything, and an Oompa Loompa gets killed by a squirrel in the process. The nuts are absolutely everywhere, thankfully also blocking the incinerator hole. However, Veruca might be getting suffocated by the nuts. I can't believe I'm writing that. Anywho, our new objective here is to fill the boxes with squirrels, and to do this we will once again, you guessed it, use Oompa Loompas. However, Wonka forgot to mention the conveyor belt of death. Look at this monstrosity. The music is also very fitting this time, with the dread that's just dripping from it. Using spinners, we have to change the direction of the nuts. However, doing so does not change the speed, and you still have to leap to safety. Then once across, we need to get the Oompa Loompas across. You might have noticed that this is a new mechanic, so you also know what that means. Time to repeat this many, many, many times. Unfortunately, during this process, we did lose some Oompa Loompas to the River of Nuts. Then we get to one of the boss fights in the game, the Squirrel Tree. Charlie has to get the squirrels back into the squirrely box, so how do we do this? Do we sneak up and grab them and put them in? No? Well, I have no idea. So we're going to consult the Scottish war hero Robert the Bruce on how to deal with squirrels. And he famously said, and I quote, "When saving squirrels, stealth and bartering is not the way. Instead, knock them unconscious with gobstoppers, so we clobber the tree rats with well-timed headshots, and then we get the Oompa Loompas to stuff them into the boxes. This is messed up in multiple ways, you know, the main reason being animal abuse, but there are also technically Willy Wonka's workers, right? Failing to hit the squirrels, Charlie can be attacked and scratched to pieces by the squirrels, like the denizens from Call of Duty Black Ops. After collecting the squirrels, well, more appear, so you know what we're going to be doing for the next half hour. Oh yeah, Veruca was stuck in the incinerator hole. Well, she's probably dead now, but Wonka, being the genius he is, decides to send another kid down the incinerator hole. And that kid is us. And it's a sliding game, similar to the one in the snow at the start, but this time we have to catch up to Veruca, avoiding garbage and closing doors. We've had training for this though, so it shouldn't be too hard. There's actually left and right passageways that you can choose. Does it mean anything? Well, kind of. Not really. I guess going too slow causes you to fail and Veruca to be burnt. But we just restart anyway. Speaking of that, this one Veruca straight up dies if you don't save her. Well, you don't actually really see it, but it's kind of implied since going near the bright red passageway, which is the incinerator, will kill you. Looks like the incinerator was lit this day. Meaning if we hadn't jumped down here, she would have been burnt alive. Are we sure this isn't getting to the end of the tunnel? Veruca is about to fall down the incinerator, but Charlie grabs her and saves her. She lands in the garbage, but we keep going. The Oompa Loompas are waiting for her here, though. I wonder if any were waiting at the furnace. And is it this part of the game where I got stuck on as a child? And yeah, I can see why. This game is really confusing. Grandpa Joe is a great help.
I don't know how to do.
And when he does have an idea, it's usually the start of a puzzle, which most dumb kids would have figured out anyway. Grandpa's hint for here is to start at the top and take the blue candy pot.
If you want to get to the bottom of this, Charlie, maybe you should start at the top. Try the blue candy pot.
I don't know where it goes. That was the blue candy pot, right? What does he mean? Yeah, you can get to the top, but if you can't get to the top...
If you want to get to the bottom...
Eventually, though, I figure out the first part by moving the definitely blue candy pot to align with the other one. I didn't exactly start at the top, though. But doing so has raised down these platforms, and I still can't get up there because the candy pots don't actually take me there. There's no earthly way of knowing which direction I'm meant to be going. Eventually turns out I need to, of course, turn around more of the candy pots again. Those hints don't help, Joe. Well, spinner platforms have appeared, and we make the Oompa Loompas fix the fizzy lifting machine, and then we get it, the fizzy lifting drink. This little bottle will let us fly. Yep, you heard that right.
They fly now?
Gotcha.
They fly now!
We now straight up have the ability to fly. So how does flying feel? Well, yeah, it's not bad. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's certainly not as fun as it sounds. But it's actually more like swimming in the air. Really, this is like a water level with no water. So it's a level where you swim, and Robert the Bruce has a famous quote about water levels. So is this level good? Well, the flying part is sort of fun. The puzzle part isn't, because in a room with the ability to fly, they made the most boring designed room with nowhere fun to go or anything to explore. And everything kind of looks like those cheap baby toys. Thankfully though, we can use the fizzy lifting drink anywhere in the game. This is also a bad thing because once you have the ability to fly, exploring is really boring. So Charlie flies around the fizzy drinking room and we can pick up the Oompa Loompas to take them to new places to fix things. Thus, we carry the Oompa Loompas up to the panels that send through another squirrel box. So you can guess the next thing we have to do. I don't know why half this game is about beating squirrels unconscious, but here we are. And we beat down every last one of them till we can fill our boxes.
Over here.
And then we go through the door to more panels broken and Wonka bots chasing Oompa Loompas. Cue epic music and epic boss fight. After a grand battle, the last Wonka bot is slain. With all the stuff breaking in this factory, you question how this factory is this way. Then you remember the guy who runs the factory. And yeah, no, this makes sense. We fly through with an Oompa Loompa, but my dark intrusive thoughts win and I drop the Oompa Loompa to its death. Unfortunately for me though, this sends us both back to the start and just adds more time into this game. Another attempt of my evil thoughts actually bites me in the ass though, since I pushed an Oompa Loompa off during a cutscene. And when I respawned, the wilder Oompa Loompa could not fix the panel.
I don't...
We also unlock the final candy in the game, exploding candy. It's a grenade. And a delayed one, and also can only be thrown a few feet in front of you, not giving you any time to hit the intended targets, and doesn't even one-shot the Wonka bots, so in short it kinda sucks, especially compared to the candy ball, which does more damage, makes you invulnerable, and is quicker at taking them out. And we get to the last level of the game with the last victim, Mike TV. And warning for your eyes. They may be blinded by the pure white design of this level. We hit the spinner and then we fly up the glass tube into the mechanical part of the TV room. It's visually very nice, actually. So what does the last level in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory have to impress us with? Well, get ready, because it's a Wonka bot fight that we have to use the Vine Ball candy from the first level and push in the required number of Wonka bots for an area. Once again, if you're too close to the Vine Ball, no momentum. Once all the Wonka bots are in the big glowing tube, Wonkavite is made from them, which helps Mike TV somehow. I don't know, I don't really care at this point. We do this, then hit the spinner, then float up to the next room. I do the exact same thing again. We do this 4 times, the same thing, and then drop back down and get spawn camped by the droids again. We also ask Grandpa Joe for advice for old time's sake.
I can't.
But we won't let the robots Wonka our Willy, and we take out the candy ball and ram those robots to hell where they belong.
Die! Die! Die!
Afterwards, the Oompa Loompas come out of hiding. They start doing the classic push-ups and we order them to fix things as usual. This time though, it raises the sci-fi chairs for the Oompa Loompas to go on. Of course, we order them to work on the chairs and they take their sweet time running all the way around the room. But they could have gone the other way, which was shorter. And also, were these Oompa Loompas introduced to running at supersonic speeds? What happened to that? Are they just lazy now? And then, ladies and gentlemen and everything in between, that is the end of the experience. The final thing you do in the game. Talk about the most anticlimactic ending ever.
Wasn't that just magnificent? I was worried it was getting a little dodgy in the middle part, but then that finale, wow.
And I'm just gonna let you experience the cutscene of this nightmare.
Hold on!
Whoa.
See, I suddenly realized I can't go on forever. Who will continue my life's work?
Your factory.
It's yours now, Charlie.
Mine? But
I told you, beyond anything you could ever imagine.
Truly nothing was impossible, just as Grandpa Joe had said. And as Charlie's mind whirled in the wonder and excitement of that day, there was one thing of which he was absolutely certain. Life had never been sweeter.
And then the credits roll, and we get the names of the game designers who made that torturous vine ball part. I won't ever forget those names. I know everyone is asking the question, was this game any good? And to that answer, no. Well, you made it to the end, therefore you have made it to the end section of the video where we talk a bit about the video and your comments and feedback on my previous videos. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate if you gave the video a like. It helps the video to do well, and consider subscribing. We're going to be going through a lot more retrospectives and critiques on many different games. Some very popular games, some you've never heard of, but I think you would enjoy. Also, I think I will make FNAF retrospectives spaced out after one other series video. So for instance, FNAF 1 video, then it was the Wonka video, and then next is FNAF 2. This gives it a little more time to stand on its own and also keep a variety of games on the channel. This brings me to thanking my patrons, Luke McLeod and Jack Simmons, and if you want to support the channel more, you can check out the Patreon below with different tiers such as an audio recording of my videos to download and listen to, when at work or when you don't have access to internet. As a fun bonus for the end part for all my videos, I will choose my favorite comment from my last video, and that was from Lego Meta World 2728, who is a long-time subscriber of the channel, who said, "I never knew you were a FNAF fan, to be honest. Epic." This was a great comment since I'm going to be covering a lot of horror games on the channel since I really like horror games, though I did remember I'm very easily scared by them, so expect a lot more horror related games getting covered, though honestly every game is pretty much a horror game when you think about it. So thank you for that comment, and as always I pick one comment from my previous video to talk about a bit more in the next video. However, I do also check all the comments from my videos, the nice ones at least, so hopefully you get picked. If you want to watch more of my content, click on my previous video here or check out my very short retrospective/reviews playlist, in which they are in fact not very short. That's comedy, everyone. And to finally end this video, I will once again thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting while leaving you with this very important wisdom. Don't forget what happened to the kid who suddenly got everything he wanted. He stupidly asked for the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory game.
Violet, you're turning violet!